The title of my speech is 1,000 Words. A number of years ago, I had what was at that time the most important interview of my career. And the interview was going well, and I was about near the end of it, and I knew that I was in a situation to where the next few minutes was going to either be the difference of me getting to the next level of interviews or getting that note that said, thanks, but no thanks. So I'm at that point, and I feel that things are going well, and the interviewer asked their final question. I decided that I would respond with a short story, or so I thought it was short. I could quickly tell on the interviewer's face that I had made a bad decision. I guess what I did, I used over 1,000 words to paint a picture, and all the interviewer wanted was a picture. So what we'll talk about today, we're going to talk about my communication style. We'll talk about the advantages that I feel that communication style has had on my career, but we'll also talk about some of the disadvantages that that communication style has had on my career too, that impact. I'll talk about some of the things I've learned, some of the things that I do because of those lessons learned, and give you a few examples and how it's impacted my career. My basic communication style is one of 4, and I don't know how many of you get to go through the same module, but it's fantastic to learn about your communication style, and it's helped me dramatically. You all know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It takes approximately me 4 minutes to speak 1,000 words. And when I go over that, in many instances, I would much rather paint a picture with words than showing a picture or a slide or coming up with some statistics. I'd much rather do that. And it's because my communication style is what's called initiating. And the initiating communication style values interacting with others, quote unquote, and sharing stories. Now what's so funny about that is, picture that type of a communication style in a Toastmasters club. It's pretty much what we do. We value interaction with others and telling stories. So it kind of fits. It's helped me throughout my career in sales. It's given me the ability to build a rapport with customers and to get to know them and for them to get to know me. And it's been critical because it allows me to get to know them to where I can help to solve their problems and bring solutions to the table. And I'm able to do that in a friendly, non-threatening environment. And that's also part of the style, the communication style. It's part of the definition. And that creation of a friendly, non-threatening environment, that's also critical in what I do in my role now. And that's working with the 30 field technicians at ISCO. It's critical for me to get to know them and understand them and understand their goals so that we can work together and that I can help them to meet and exceed their own goals. And that non-threatening environment that is a part of my communication style, it's a critical part of what I do, and it's been fantastic for both sales and the management of the team. And it's just, it just works really well for me. But what happens though when I'm dealing with customers or when I'm dealing with coworkers or the team? What happens if they have a different communication style than what I do, than what I have? You know, how do I handle that? How have I handled that? And one of my favorite stories, I go back years and years ago when I was in sales, and I had a meeting set up with the VP of IT at AutoZone in Memphis. Well, to set this up, it was interesting because I had never had it before and have never had it since. You get 8 minutes in front of the VP of IT at AutoZone. And that's it. And I walk in and I sit down Don't even say anything. You walk in, you don't say a word until she hits the timer. So I sit down, she hits the timer. Well, it's not my chance to talk about my dogs or my recent trip to the Catskills. I've got 8 minutes to prove to her exactly what I and my company and I can do for her and how it can impact the bottom line. And I've got to have all my figures and facts ready to go, because the minute 8 minutes hits, I'm done. So utilizing what I'm going to call my primary communication skills, it doesn't work. So oftentimes in what I do now, and I've learned from that, I have to change my communication style, not just because of my audience, but I have to change my communication style because of the scenario that I'm in. A number of times a quick, decisive response is what's required rather than a long story or a extended discussion. So that kind of takes me to the story that I had when I let off the speech. I used my communication skills, my style, incorrectly when I was in that interview, because my lengthy discussions and my long stories, I found out later, were actually infuriating my interviewer. So there was an immediate conflict with my communication style and what she was looking for, because she was a direct communicator, and the definition for that, one who wants others to get to the point quickly and in a succinct manner. So when I did get that note, the thanks but no thanks, I also got feedback. And that feedback was, you talked too much. That was my feedback. Now, that didn't have anything to do with what I was saying or my skills or if I was a good set for that job. That whole response was my communication style. And that was not positive. So I've learned from that. Having a primary communication style isn't a negative, but I found that I have to have feedback to continue to hone my skills. Just recently, I received feedback from a coworker that I need to be more concise. And I was in a car talking to a coworker on the phone, and my wife was with me, and I was doing some coaching, and I repeated myself a couple times. And I could see my wife in the car just fidgeting. It was driving her nuts. And I hung up, and she said, "You could have just said that in half the time." So I didn't really ask for that feedback, but so asking for and getting feedback is critical. So I'll close with 5 things that I've learned about with my communication skills. Number 1, understand your audience. What is their communication style? Number 2, listen. Listen to the people that you're speaking with. So we may be Toastmasters, we may be speakers, but the key to any dyadic communication is that one side is listening. Ask for feedback. I know my style, and I think that the style works well for me, but continue to get that feedback and see where you are, because I have found I sometimes move too quickly back to my primary. And feedback is always great. And the 5th is brevity, and I have failed badly because the light's already out. You don't have to fill gaps by speaking. You don't have to speak too long. And this is interesting, you don't have to go the entire 7 minutes you're allowed. So those are my thoughts on communication style. And again, my initiating style, I think it fits me well, and I think I fit it well. But the one thing that I take from it, I feel that I can always be flexible, and to do what I do, I have to be flexible with my communication style. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather paint that picture using 1,000 words. Thank you.